Hi, and welcome to this short webinar on how to review curriculum settings when you first get assigned your classes and your sections. Here is a view of the teacher platform. In your teacher platform, you're going to see your courses and how many sections that you might have. Let's take this Algebra 1 Semester A course. When you first are assigned your courses, you're going to want to open up your section and go to this curriculum option button right here. It will open up an option to see all of your curriculum, but we're going to want to first address our curriculum settings for our class. When we view the curriculum settings for the class, this is going to adjust anything we set for the entire class. There are options to set specific student curriculum settings, but again, this button is where we can set curriculum settings for the entire class. Best practices will say that we should set all post-tests to lock, and at the bottom we will save our changes. Another best practice is to make sure that at the end of the semester, we hit lock and we save our changes. By doing so, when we go down to our curriculum, we're going to be able to see that we have a locked button on our post-tests, as well as the end of our end of the semester test. So any post-test and end of the semester test. Let's go back up to the beginning and look at our other options. Pre-tests don't necessarily need to be locked, but it is an option that you have. Same with mastery tests and any teacher graded activities. If you would like to lock a discussion question or hide them or omit them, same with teacher graded activities and mastery tests, you do have the ability to hide but not omit mastery tests. What are some reasons in which you would maybe like to hide a discussion question? Let's review what hide and omit mean. Hide means if I chose to hide my discussion question, I can hide discussion questions over here just to give you an example of what that means. If I hide a discussion question or hide any particular activity, even if I wanted to hide this entire module, if I hide these modules, that means that it does not show in the student portal, but eventually I'm going to either need to A, unhide it, or B, make sure that I assign a different curriculum assignment to them. Most reasons for this would be if you wanted to do it together as a group, or if you wanted to just make sure that the students did not see it until you were ready to get to it as a class. When you are ready to get to it as a group, then you can go in here and you can unhide, and then it will be available to the students. If for any reason you wanted to lock all mastery tests, you can also lock all mastery tests. Some teachers like to lock the mastery tests at the end of each chapter. Reasons for this: they want to make sure that the students do the work, possibly take notes, show them their notes, make sure that they understand the grades that they received for the tutorial and the practice, any discussion questions, and make sure that they are ready to take that chapter test, which is the mastery test, and then the teacher must unlock it. So teachers, instructors, anything that you do choose to lock, you will need to physically go in and unlock. However, there is a caveat to that. When it comes to mastery tests, the students may go in and review their work in the tutorial. Once they review their work in the tutorial, it will unlock their mastery tests for them. Okay, another setting that I would like to discuss is the limit attempts to unlock those mastery tests. Right now, it is automatically set to unlimited. When I just discussed just a second ago about how students, if they received a particular grade on their mastery test for this particular chapter, and they did not pass or they did not like their score, they may go through the tutorial on their own, review the tutorial, go through the slides, any checking for understanding, And what happens is it unlocks the mastery test so they can do the mastery test again. This is an individual opportunity for them to work through it again on their own, where you do not have to unlock the mastery test. Here is where you can set how many times the student is able to unlock the mastery test. If you would like to set a time for possibly 3 attempts, you could save that. If you feel that if they would like to do it as many times as possible, that is also up to you. So again, our suggestion and best practice is most definitely to lock the post tests and the end of the semester test. Anything else that you decide to lock is definitely up to you. If you hide an activity, that does not mean that it goes away for something that needs to be graded. So it just means that the student does not see it until you unhide it. If you choose to omit an activity, by omitting it means that they do not only not see it, but it also does not come up in the grade book where it's going to appear for a grade. So it does not appear as 100% and it does not appear as a 0. It just does not basically exist. So you can go in there, you can unhide, you can hide, you can omit, and you can include the activity. So as you get to know your curriculum, go through your curriculum, just as if this were a textbook and you're deciding which activities to include and not include, this is where you would select those activities. Again, anything you do here or specifically over here, this is going to make sure that it affects every single student's curriculum. Whatever you do here will affect all students' curriculum. That again is the curriculum button. If, for example, you just wanted to make specific changes to a specific student's curriculum, you would click on their name and you can make adjustments to only their curriculum by going off to the side and being able to make adjustments to a particular student's curriculum. So, for example, let us go down to some work where a student has yet to do some activities. If this particular discussion question, I know that I would like to work one-on-one with a student and not have them actually write the discussion question and turn it in. We're going to discuss this on our one-on-one. What I could do is I could go over here and hide this so that the student does not necessarily see this in their portal, but I know as the teacher that I'm going to need to go into the grade book and assign a grade at a later point. If the student has trouble with specific writing concepts in discussion questions, if they do not write very well, because that is how they have to respond, you could hide all discussion questions for a particular student based upon their IEP requirements. If you wanted to make sure that it came back, you can unhide and it will return. If you are going to be working on a student, let's say with a course activity, here is a unit activity, and maybe they did it with you again together, you can hide it just for that student. If they did it together and they received 100%, anytime you give a student an exempt, it's going to create a little E, and anything that equates to an E is an automatic 100%. So I'm going to unexempt them. If you have a student, for example, that might get a little anxious if they see all of this semester's work at one time, you can go in and you can hide an entire unit's worth of work at one time. So if you only wanted them to see unit 1 and nothing else at this time because it was something that they became anxious on, then you can go ahead and hide unit 2, unit 3, unit 4, so on and so forth, until they are ready to receive it, so they do not have that anxiety of seeing everything at once. So all of the options that we had as a class curriculum setting, you also have the ability to do as a student per student for each individual activity. When you do and make individual student activities and change their activities, you will log in to the student, and then you will make changes over to the right. So just to recap what we discussed from the beginning, when you receive your courses and your sections, at the very beginning before students begin, it is most highly requested that you click on your course and your section. You'll have to do this for every single one. Click on the curriculum button, click on curriculum settings, open this up, and make any adjustments that you would like. Again, we highly suggest for best practices that you lock post-test and end of semester test. You can make any adjustments to how many times the students are able to unlock and redo the mastery test, which are the chapter tests. You can lock, hide, and omit any of these per making sure that state standards are still in effect, that we don't delete too many things. And then again, everything you do at this level is going to happen for every single student. But if you want to just affect one or two students, or you need to go in and alter a specific student's curriculum, you will click on a particular student, and off to the side with their 3 ellipses, you will have the ability to unhide, lock, hide, omit, edit the activity, whatever it is that you feel that you need to do for that particular student. And what you do to this student will not affect any others. Thank you for watching this short video on curriculum settings.